In what was supposed to mark the triumphant return of the former Suits actress to the small screen as a polished domestic visionary, her Netflix lifestyle series, With Love, Meghan instead unfolded as a quietly devastating reminder that reinvention in Hollywood demands far more than royal adjacency and carefully curated flower arrangements, a project now consigned to the streaming graveyard with no third season in sight, and the couple's once vaunted multi-million-dollar deal quietly downgraded to a mere first-look arrangement that leaves them scrambling for relevance. I'm glad you've joined me as we begin to unpick the layers of this rather telling development. When the first episodes landed on the 4th of March last year, one could almost feel the Montecito household buzzing with a mixture of nervous excitement and steely determination. The Duchess of Sussex, ever the architect of her own narrative, had poured herself into presenting elegant one-pot pastas, homemade bath salts, and those signature lemon tarts, as if they held the key to elevating the everyday for millions of viewers, who, she privately believed, had been waiting for her particular brand of effortless grace after years of what she saw as royal confinement. Yet beneath that polished smile, sources close to the inner circle whisper of mounting pressure, the weight of being the primary breadwinner in a sprawling California estate where private security alone devours millions annually, the quiet fear that this venture simply had to succeed, or the carefully constructed image of independence would begin to fray at the edges. The surrounding atmosphere was one of feverish promotion, with Netflix executives no doubt hoping the royal cachet would translate into sustained viewing figures, yet the British critics descended almost immediately like a particularly unforgiving winter fog, branding the whole affair tone-deaf, self-indulgent, and queasily narcissistic, a multimillionaire playing at domesticity, while the world outside grappled with far graver concerns. Long-term, that initial wave of ridicule planted seeds of doubt not just among casual viewers, but within the industry itself, eroding the very credibility the series was meant to restore and setting the stage for an even steeper decline that would leave her questioning every carefully chosen prop and guest list. By the time Season 2 arrived on the 26th of August, the production team had doubled down with an impressive roster of celebrity friends, from Christina Tosi to Jose Andres, each appearance designed to lend an air of collaborative authenticity to what was, in truth, a highly controlled environment where every sprig of lavender and every perfectly imperfect napkin fold had been rehearsed to within an inch of its life. One imagines the Duchess pacing the set in those early mornings, her mind racing with the inner monologue of a woman who had staked so much on this being her Martha Stewart moment, convinced that if only the public could see her warmth and creativity unfiltered by palace protocol, the doubters would finally fall silent. The atmosphere on set, according to those longtime acquaintances who observed from afar, carried an undercurrent of quiet desperation. The knowledge that this had to perform, or the financial scaffolding supporting their post-royal life, might start to buckle under the strain of dwindling contracts elsewhere. Yet the reviews that followed were merciless, with British broadsheets eviscerating the episodes as baffling, intolerable, and the work of a Montecito Marie Antoinette emerging from her estate to an impromptu flower market, conjured by obliging producers. The sort of performative luxury that left audiences feeling not inspired, but quietly alienated. For the Duke of Sussex, who wisely kept his on-camera appearances to the barest minimum after a single cameo in the first run, one senses a supportive yet increasingly sidelined presence, perhaps inwardly acknowledging the growing gap between his wife's ambitions and the public's appetite for them, a role reversal that carried its own subtle humiliations after years in the spotlight himself. The consequences of this second wave of rejection have been profound, chipping away at whatever goodwill remained in Hollywood circles and reinforcing the narrative of a couple whose projects, no matter how lavishly funded, struggled to resonate beyond a loyal but limited fan base. Then came the holiday special in early December, a festive addendum that many hoped might salvage some momentum with its gumbo recipes and twinkling decorations. Yet even here, the numbers told a sobering story. barely scraping past 2 million views and earning a damning 0% on certain aggregator scores. The sort of reception that must have stung deeply as the Duchess reviewed the feedback in the privacy of her home, perhaps replaying in her mind the moments she believed had been charming rather than contrived. A source behind closed doors suggests the atmosphere around the couple grew tense in the weeks that followed, with whispered conversations about the mounting cost of maintaining appearances while income streams narrowed, the long-term fallout being a very public signal to potential partners that the Sussex brand, once valued in the hundreds of millions, now carries the whiff of diminishing returns. One can picture her defending the project in private interviews, insisting it was simply a lot of work and that those who criticized it were merely settling scores or secretly attempting the recipes in their own kitchens, a defensive posture that only heightened the sense of disconnect from the very audience she sought to woo. For the broader Sussex enterprise, the absence of a third season represents more than a single program's quiet end. It underscores a pattern of high-profile ventures that promised transformation but delivered diminishing engagement, forcing a strategic pivot towards paid speaking engagements and whatever remnants of brand merchandising can be salvaged, all while the financial pressures of Montecito life continue their relentless march. In the end, what lingers from this entire chapter is not merely the cold arithmetic of viewing figures that plummeted from a respectable 383rd ranking in the first half of the year to somewhere beyond 1,200 in the second, but the deeper human drama of ambition colliding with reality in the unforgiving glare of public scrutiny. The Duchess, for all her poise, must now confront a landscape where her particular blend of lifestyle aspiration no longer commands the attention it once might have, while her husband, ever the quiet supporter in the background, perhaps reflects on the irony of trading one form of institutional constraint for another defined by market forces. A well-placed source within entertainment circles confides that Netflix's decision to step back was not born of malice, but of simple commercial pragmatism, the realization that even royal stardust cannot sustain a format already crowded with far more seasoned and relatable voices. The long-term consequences stretch far beyond one canceled series, casting a shadow over future collaborations and amplifying the quiet quarrels within their orbit about direction, authenticity, and the ever-present question of whether the Montecito dream can truly sustain itself without the constant infusion of fresh validation. And so, as we watch from afar, one cannot help but note with a touch of worldly cynicism how swiftly the promise of reinvention can curdle into a cautionary tale, a reminder that in the world of celebrity enterprise, substance and timing matter far more than titles or perfectly plated canapes, leaving the Sussexes to navigate an uncertain path where every misstep is magnified and every setback carries the weight of what might have been.